Brandon Swanson was 19 years old when he vanished without a trace on a dark Minnesota road. One moment he was on the phone, walking toward what he believed were nearby lights. Next, there was a scream and silence. No body, no evidence, no answers. And now, the collector brings you the haunting case that left police, family, and an entire town in disbelief. Watch till the end, because sometimes the most terrifying mysteries are the ones that feel the most ordinary, until they aren't. Who was Brandon Swanson? Brandon Victor Swanson was a college student from Marshall, Minnesota. Known for being responsible, friendly, and intelligent, Brandon was studying wind turbine technology and had just finished his spring semester at Minnesota West Community in Technical College. On May 14, 2008, he attended a small gathering with classmates to celebrate the end of the school year. There was nothing unusual about that night, just a typical evening with friends. At around 11:30 p.m., Brandon left the gathering to drive back to his parents' home in Marshall. But something went wrong, the call that changed everything. Around 1:54 a.m., Brandon accidentally drove his Chevy Lumina into a ditch on a rural gravel road. He wasn't hurt, the car wasn't damaged. He simply couldn't get it out. So he did what any young adult would do. He called his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson. Brandon told them he was near the town of Lynn, just a few miles from their home. He seemed calm and asked them to come pick him up. But when his parents arrived at the location he described, he wasn't there. They flashed their headlights, honked the horn, called his name. Nothing. Brandon insisted he could see lights in the distance, possibly the town, and told them he'd walk toward the lights and they should meet him there. What followed was a 47-minute phone call between Brandon and his father as he walked through the dark countryside. The last words heard. During that call, Brandon stayed on the phone the whole time. He said he was walking along a road, mentioned passing fences and hearing water nearby. At times, he sounded frustrated and confused about his location. Then suddenly, his voice changed. He said, "Oh shit!" And then the call cut off. His father tried to call back. No answer. Repeated calls went straight to voicemail. That was the last time anyone heard from Brandon Swanson. The search begins. By morning, the Swansons contacted law enforcement. At first, police assumed Brandon was a typical teenager who had wandered off or maybe just needed time to cool down. It took several hours before a serious search began. When they finally located his car, it wasn't near Lynn at all. It was near Taunton, nearly 25 miles away from where he believed he was. Brandon had been completely off in his estimation. This meant he had been walking in the dark along unfamiliar back roads, far from where his parents had been looking. Clues in the darkness. A massive search effort began, involving hundreds of volunteers, police dogs, the National Guard, and even the use of drones and sonar. They traced the route he most likely took on foot, guided by cell tower pings and the direction of his voice during the call. Dogs tracked his scent through fields, along gravel roads, and even near a creek. At one point, the dogs indicated that Brandon may have entered Yellow Medicine River, but the trail ended there. Despite extensive efforts, no body was ever found. No clothing, no phone, no wallet, nothing. It was as if he had vanished into the night. Did he fall into the river? One of the most widely accepted theories is that Brandon may have fallen into the Yellow Medicine River, which was near where his scent was last tracked. But this theory has serious problems. First, if he had drowned, his body should have been found. The area was thoroughly searched multiple times using divers, sonar equipment, and rescue dogs, yet nothing ever turned up. No trace of clothing, no personal items, nothing caught in the brush or riverbanks. Second, the river wasn't especially deep or fast-moving at that time of year. And experienced search teams say it's unlikely a body would remain hidden for long. So if not the river, then where did he go? Other theories: abduction, animal attack, or something else. There's no evidence that Brandon was abducted, but some believe he might have encountered foul play while walking alone on those dark country roads. However, no suspects were ever identified, and there were no signs of a struggle found anywhere. Some speculated about a wild animal attack, but again, no blood, clothing, or remains were ever discovered. Then there's the strange behavior during the call. Brandon's final words, "Oh, shh," suggest something startled him suddenly. It could have been a fall, a trip, a slip into a hidden crevice, or it could have been something else entirely, something unseen, something no one can explain. Could he have become disoriented? Some experts believe Brandon may have been disoriented due to stress, fatigue, or even hypothermia. It was cold that night, and temperatures dropped as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius. It's possible he became confused or lost and wandered farther away than anyone anticipated. But once again, the biggest problem with this theory is the lack of a body or evidence. The farmland and rivers were scoured for months and years after. The terrain was not so vast that a young man could vanish entirely without leaving a single clue behind. Unless, of course, he left the area altogether. But how? The aftermath, a family forever changed. Brandon's parents never gave up. They led numerous search efforts, pushed local authorities for more action, and kept their son's story alive in the public eye. In 2009, partly because of this case, Minnesota passed Brandon's Law. This law requires police to immediately file a missing persons report for any adult under suspicious or dangerous circumstances. Before that, adults could be seen as free to disappear, delaying search efforts when time is most critical. Brandon's disappearance changed the law, but tragically, it didn't bring him home. The collector's thoughts. What are we missing? The collector sees patterns, and in this case, the pattern is silence. A young man disappears while on the phone. No fight, no weapon, no witnesses, just one scream and a complete void of evidence. This kind of silence is rare. Was it an accident that science can't explain? A crime that left no trace? Or something otherworldly? Some believe he walked into another realm, a place that leaves no footprints. The truth may be out there, buried beneath crops and time. But until it's found, Brandon's case remains open and very, very cold. A final plea. Brandon would be 36 years old today, and though he vanished at 19, his parents still hope for closure. If you have any information, even the smallest detail, contact the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. Because stories like Brandon's shouldn't end in silence. Mysteries like these aren't just stories. They're real. They affect real families, real lives. If this case shook you, share it. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Brandon fell? Was he taken? Or is there a darker truth no one dares to speak? Subscribe for more disturbing cases uncovered by the collector. Because the world is full of shadows, and someone needs to shine a light on the ones we fear the most. Until next time.